Hi, I'm Nate. Welcome to Nate's Road Life. Do you need to service your automatic transmission, particularly changing the fluid and filter? Well, that's what I'm fixing to do today. I'm going to use this 2012 Ram 3500 to demonstrate this. Now, this particular vehicle is going to be a little different than your vehicle unless you drive this same vehicle. However, this will get you in the ballpark. It'll show you pretty much what you need to do. There'll be minor differences, but for the most part, it's going to be about the same. All right, guys, so we're under the vehicle. All right, first step, obviously, make sure the vehicle's not running. That's probably a good step. Next thing, get up underneath the vehicle and find your transmission. Now, this is a rear-wheel drive vehicle, so your transmission is right here. You got an oil pan right here. That's for the engine, okay? This is for the transmission. Do not get them two mixed up. We're doing transmission, oils for another day. All right, so first things first, locate your transmission pan. Now, fortunately, this truck has got a drain plug on the transmission pan. It's right here. A lot of vehicles don't have a drain pan, and so unfortunately, if you don't have a drain pan, you just have to take all the bolts loose and drop the pan, and it's usually a mess. Fluid goes all over the place. But this truck, I actually changed the transmission pan because the old one had a hole in it, and when I changed it, the new one had a plug. So this plug specifically is a 17 millimeter. I usually do an oil analysis whenever I change fluids, just so that way I can kind of keep track of how wear is going. You don't have to, but I do. So I'm going to pull this plug loose, catch me a sample for this bottle, and then we'll talk a little bit about what all we're going to have to do whenever we change this. So if you are doing an oil analysis, you want to catch it throughout the drain. You don't just want to get it all at the beginning, and you don't want to get it all at the end either. You want to kind of grab some, let it drain, grab some, let it drain, just in case, you know, there's differences in the oil. All right, so while that's finishing draining, I'm gonna go ahead and start taking all these transmission pan bolts out. I'll take out a few of them and then skip one, take out a few of them, skip one, you know, and then once it gets done draining, we'll take the remaining bolts out. This is a 5/16 on my pan. They're not in there very tight. They're it's a pretty loose deal. You don't want to torque these down super tight, because then you'll crush the gasket. All right, we got one bolt left. I'm gonna go ahead and put this drain plug back in. All right, now I don't know how well you guys can see this. You'll be able to see it really good here in a minute, but that transmission pan is loose. It's wiggling, right? Because it's only hanging on by one bolt. We'll take this off the rest of the way. Now you can see it's loose, right? I want to use this time to explain something to you guys. For those of you who have never done this before, if these pans have not been taken off before, or even if they have, sometimes they get stuck on there, and you can take all the bolts off and they just hold on there. All right, if that happens, and now pay very close attention to this, if that happens, you can use a hammer to knock this loose, but not just any hammer. You need to get a rubber mallet or a rubber dead blow style hammer. Do not go beating on this pan with a metal hammer. You're going to tear it up. All right, and even with a rubber one, you can't get crazy with it. You can whack it decently, but don't get stupid with it because you'll tear this pan up. All right, you can stick a screwdriver or something like that in between the pan and the transmission to try to help pry it loose if need be, but be very careful if you do that, because you do not want to tear up the mating surface for where the gasket goes. You can do that pretty easily if you get, you know, a screwdriver bound up in the wrong spot. You can scrape it up, whatnot. So be very careful when you're doing that. And if for some reason you do tear up a gasket mating surface, make sure that you tear up the pan side, not the transmission side, because you can always go buy a new pan and put it on pretty easy. The transmission is a whole nother story, so be mindful of this. All right, so if you have a drain plug like I do, that's great. You popped it, you drained out most of the transmission fluid. If you do not have a drain plug, this is where things get messy. You take out most of the bolts, but you leave a few in it, okay? You get the transmission pan broke free to where it is no longer sealed to the transmission. You better have a pan underneath it to catch it, because it is gonna pour oil like you would not believe, and it is a mess. It will be all over the place. You let it drain most of the way, but you'll never be able to drain it all the way. So then whenever you go to take the pan off, you're gonna have to hold the pan up, take the bolts out, and then slowly let it down. And if you accidentally tilt it towards you, it's gonna dump all that oil right in your face. So you have to be very cognizant when you're doing this, all right? So just imagine like this. I'm holding up on this pan with one hand. I'm taking the other bolt, or the final bolt out, with my free hand, okay? So now the bolt is out, right? I'm gonna drop all that to the side, and then I'm gonna put both hands on this transmission pan, and I'm gonna slowly let it down like this, and then I'm gonna try and tilt it like that. Hear it? Into the oil pan. Now, if your oil pan is full, it's gonna be a whole lot more than what mine is. Luckily, I was able to drain the vast majority of mine, but you get the point. Once you take this pan down, get it out of the way. This transmission, as you could probably see, has got little drops of oil all over the place. That's just how they all are. I've worked on countless transmissions, and every single automatic transmission is exactly like this. They're all the exact same. They have oil all over the place. It's dripping. It can be dirty, but if you're not scared to get dirty, it's really not that big of a deal. All right, so on this transmission, once you drop the pan, you've got two filters. You've got a screw-on filter right here, this little silver one, and then you've got a flat pan filter right here. The flat pan filter is held on by one bolt right here. I think it's a Torx head, if I remember right. I'm gonna have to look at it. I'll give you the actual, you know, let you know for sure. But this silver filter is just like a standard oil filter. It just screws on. Nothing fancy to it. And a lot like an oil filter in the fact of whenever you take it loose, it starts leaking oil. I guess it's really oil, it's automatic transmission fluid, but you guys get the point. All right, for this specific transmission, it is a Torx, it is a T25 Torx for this little pan filter. This oil or transmission fluid will run out of one of these transmissions. I swear you could leave it like this for 3 days and it'd still be running out. I don't know what it is about an automatic transmission, but they just run and run and run and run and run. All right, I'm gonna put this oil filter style one on first, so that way hopefully it'll quit dripping so bad. So I just got a little bit of this transmission fluid that's leaking out on my finger, rub it around the gasket on that thing. And now, maybe, there it goes. Running down my arm. Guys, make sure that you wear gloves when you do this, because automatic transmission fluid is really not good for you at all. It's it'll soak in through your skin, and it's a known carcinogen, right? So it causes cancer. They know that. It's not like it's some surprise. All right, so now when you put that filter on, just snug it down. You don't have to get ridiculous with it. Treat it kind of like an oil filter. I do tighten it up a little bit more than an oil filter, because if it falls off, you'll burn your transmission up. So you do definitely want it to stay on, that's for sure. But you don't have to just put your monkey paw on it or nothing. Now got this flat filter. It just pushes up in there, nothing to it, just like that, and then put your bolt back in. Snug her down, bada bing bada boom. Now we just got to get the pan cleaned up, ready to go back on. So while you're under here, I like to wipe off the transmission mating surface where the gasket goes. Take a good look at it, make sure that there's no remnants of the old gasket on there, because if there is, you're going to have to clean it off. It won't seal if there's old pieces of gaskets on there. Just make sure that it's all clean, wiped off, it looks good. Check your work. You made sure you tighten this down. That's pushed up good, that's tightened down. You know, whatever your application may be, this is just mine, but I'm just double checking on my work. Everything looks good. So now I'm gonna grab the oil pan, take it outside. We'll get the old gasket removed, get it all cleaned up, and then we'll bring it back down here, slap it back on, and get ready to fill this thing with transmission fluid. All right, got the pan out here. Gasket just pulls right off, no big deal. Inside of here, there's a magnet. There's one of them, and most transmissions will have a magnet. That magnet is there to catch any metal shavings. As you can see, there's a bunch of stuff caked up on it right here. See all that silver stuff? If you see that, don't panic. That's pretty normal. Okay, I'm going to dump all this residual inside my oil pan. I'll just do a real quick wipe down. Nothing real fancy. Just doesn't have to be super clean. As you can see, there's a bunch of gunk in the bottom of this. That's just normal. Another paper towel here. Wipe off the gasket mating surface. Make sure that it looks good. All right, guys, my GoPro shut off because it got too hot. I didn't realize that. I don't really know when it died, so I'm just gonna show this again. So all I did was I brought this pan out, took the old gasket off, cleaned up the gasket surface, made sure that there was no residual gasket left on it. Wiped the pan out, pulled this magnet out, cleaned the magnet off, put the magnet back in there, and now I've got the new gasket setting back on here. All right, so now we're gonna go back underneath the truck, get everything lined up, start putting bolts in it, tighten them down, and then we'll be ready to put some transmission fluid in this thing. All right, guys, this camera keeps turning off. It keeps getting too hot. It's like 100 degrees outside. I don't know what you saw last, but I got up underneath here, got the gasket on the pan, stuck it up there, got holes lined up, started putting bolts in it. There's not really a whole lot to see here. We're just putting bolts in a pan. I mean, it's the reverse of what was earlier, but just go around, get you a couple of holes lined up, get a bolt on one side and then get a bolt on the other side that'll hold the pan up fairly level, and then you can kind of get a small screwdriver or something and use it to help line up the gasket holes with the holes in the pan and get all your bolts in. It can kind of be a pain, but it's manageable. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this done. I'll see you on the top side when we're ready to fill it. All right, y'all, one more thing before we go up top. Whenever you get all these bolts in, right, first off, don't tighten them down super tight. Every transmission pan is going to be different, obviously. This one, the torque spec is in inch-pounds. I can't remember what the torque spec is. I usually don't actually torque them. I just do it by hand. But it's not very much. And you don't just want to start here and go this bolt, this bolt, this bolt, this bolt, this bolt. You know, you want to go that bolt, that bolt, that bolt, that bolt, bounce back and forth, kind of a cross pattern, right? You don't just want to start in one way, go all the way around. You want to go bouncing back and forth, so that way you tighten it up evenly. If you start on one side and work your way around, you're going to push that side up and you're going to end up walking a bunch of slack around. It's just not going to work good, okay? So you don't even torque it first. You just snug them up. Snug one, you know, bounce back and forth. Snug them up to where it's all up touching, you know. And then you come back through and you start torquing. Go one here, one over here, one over here, one over here, back and forth, kind of one of them numbers. So that's the way you do that. I just wanted to make note of that, because I'd hate for somebody to go through here and go through all this trouble and then tighten all this stuff down, and you know, they can't get it to seal up, they don't understand what's going on, and that's why. So all right, guys, so now we have got the pan put back on, the drain plug tightened up, we're ready to put fluid back in this thing. So you're gonna have to locate your transmission fill tube, right? Usually you'll have a dipstick. It's normally yellow, says transmission on it. This is where you fill your transmission at. Now, you need what's called a transmission funnel. This is a transmission funnel. It gets long and skinny because you got to fill a transmission through that little bitty hole right there. There's not a big hole like there is for filling oil. So this truck calls for 11 quarts whenever you do a filter change. I have done this multiple times and it has never taken 11 quarts. It's always been like 9 point something or 10-ish. It's never taken a full 11 quarts to get it right on the dipstick. That's the most important thing, is that it's full by the dipstick. Just because it says that it takes so much doesn't mean that that's what it actually takes. So what I'm going to do is put probably 9 quarts in it, and then I'm going to start the truck up, put it in drive, you know, let it set for a few seconds, put it in reverse, let it set for a few seconds. That way it starts pumping the fluid, you know, because it's got to get it up into your transmission cooler and everything else, you know. And then I'll check this. You have to check it with the truck running and while it's in neutral. And it says that on the dipstick. I don't know if you guys can see, but right here says caution, do not overfill, do not add oil if level is between lower holes for cold, which is 70 degrees Fahrenheit, or the upper holes for hot oil, 180. use Mopar ATF +4, tells you all that. And then right here at the end it says idle and neutral. Okay, I don't know how well you can read that, but idle and neutral. That means that whenever you check this, you put the truck in neutral at an idle, and that's when you check the fluid. So I'm gonna go ahead and add, like I said, about 9 quarts to this, and then we're gonna see what she looks like. All right, y'all, so I put 9 quarts of ATF in this thing. We're gonna go fire it up. I'm gonna put it in drive, let it sit for 10 or 15 seconds, put it in reverse, let it sit for 10 or 15 seconds, give it a chance to pump fluid. Then I'm gonna put it in neutral, and we'll come out here and check this. All right, now, there's something that we need to discuss. First, you're supposed to check this fluid level when you're on flat, level ground with the vehicle in neutral at idle, as we stated previously, right? One thing about that, when it's in neutral, it can roll. Your car can roll, okay? So you need to either chalk the tires or put the emergency brake on, one of the two. Now, I grew up in an auto shop, and we had one rule regarding to emergency brakes, and that was the only time it was ever okay to use an emergency brake is if you just serviced the emergency brake. The reason being is because people usually don't use their emergency brakes, and so if you put an emergency brake on, there is a good chance that it will go on, but then whenever you go to release it, it won't release. It'll stay stuck, and then you'll be tearing the wheels apart in the back to fix the emergency brake, right? So in an auto shop, we always had that rule. You never use an emergency brake unless you just changed the emergency brake or serviced it and you're trying to make sure that it functions properly. That's the only time you ever mess with an emergency brake. And I pretty much never use the emergency brake in this truck, so I'm not going to apply it. I already chalked the rear tires, so I would suggest the same to you, especially if you were doing this to somebody else's vehicle, because the last thing you want to do is service their transmission and then winding up doing a brake job for free because you applied the emergency brake. So just chalk the tires and be done with it. So I'm gonna go fire this thing up. We'll cycle it through the gears like I said, and then we'll throw her in neutral and we'll check the fluid and see what she looks like. Alright, so we put 9 of 11 quarts in here, and it shows it slightly overfilled. So I'm going to take it for a little drive down the road and back, give it a chance to really circulate, and then we'll come back and check it again. Well, alright y'all, that's all there is to it. I put 9 quarts in it. It calls for 11, but it's right at the top of the full mark. So whenever you're doing this stuff, even though it calls for something, don't just necessarily dump that much in it from the get-go, because it's, I don't know, with oil, you know, actual crankcase oil, this thing calls for 12 quarts. I put 12 quarts in it. It's dead on the full mark every single time. With the transmission, I don't know. It's not the same. So anyway, now that we've done all this, I'll just crawl up underneath it and make sure that the pan's not leaking or anything like that. As long as it's good, then we're good. That's all there is to it, really. Not a whole lot. Just drop the pan, change the filters, put it back on, fill it up. Anyway, I appreciate you guys watching. I really do. If you've made it this far, I'd be honored if you hit the like, comment, subscribe, anything. It really helps out. If you think that I did a good job, I would really appreciate that. I make a lot of videos like this working on things just because I feel like it might hopefully help somebody out. So if there's something you want to know how to do, drop a comment and I'll see if I can't make a video about it, see if I can't help you out some way. So I appreciate it, guys. Until next time.